Hi everyone, welcome back to another video from my channel Sweet Mac Creations. After a long absence from myself, I'm sorry to all of you guys who have subscribed to my channel, all whopping 191 of you who have subscribed. Welcome back, I'm glad to have you with me. And today I'm going to be making some eggnog macarons for you guys. And this is for a very special friend of mine. It's actually for her son and her daughter-in-law who just recently got married, but they're having a secondary wedding for some family who've come to visit them and see them get married all over again. So by special request for them, I'm making these eggnog macarons as an order of 180 macarons. I'm making 4 different types, 180 split into 4 different types, but this is one of those types, eggnog macarons. And I thought it would be special, since they're holiday macarons, to share with you some of my holiday memories that I've had over my lifetime. And hopefully you guys like this video. And if you could, spread some Christmas cheer. All whopping 191 of you subscribers who have already been part of my channel and have followed me thus far, thank you. But if you can send it to at least 6 people, then I would reach that over 1,000 subscribers, and that would be like the ultimate Christmas gift. So if you guys want to do that for me, that would be awesome. The first memory that I used to have was that the air in my home growing up always smelled sweet and spicy during Christmas at home. A mixture of cinnamon, nutmeg, and a warm coconut milk that came from my mother's Puerto Rican rice pudding simmering gently on the stove. We called it arroz con dulce, and many of you probably already had that before if you grew up in a Puerto Rican or Hispanic household. And that's what she called it. And it was more than just a dessert. It was tradition, love, and family wrapped up in one creamy, fragrant dish. I remember how my mother would hum along to the Spanish Christmas songs that played on our old stereo, and the cheerful rhythm of Feliz Navidad and Mi Burrito Sabanero, or the soulful melody of Los Peces en el Río, would fill like the kitchen room as she stirred the pot. Careful not to let the rice stick to the bottom of that pan, or else the whole thing was ruined. And she'd sing the lyrics with a kind of joy that seemed to light up the entire house, her voice blending seamlessly with the music. And as a child, I didn't know there were other Christmas songs beyond these. I thought everyone celebrated the same way we did, with the lively parrandas and the heartfelt Spanish carols that brought our culture to life. And it wasn't until I was 18, sitting in a friend's living room, that I heard Jingle Bells Silent Night for the first time. They were lovely, but they felt kind of different and a little bit foreign, even though I grew up in the United States. Like a tradition that belonged to someone else. So our tradition was the sound of my mother's laughter and the scrape of that wooden spoon against the pot. And it was the sight of her putting out small bowls to let the pudding cool, sprinkling each one with a dash of cinnamon as though she were adding a little bit of magic. It was the warm, tropical aroma that made me forget how cold it was outside. In our house, the Christmas season started the moment the Thanksgiving dishes were cleared away, and by the next morning, my mom had a spread of Spanish holiday desserts ready as though she had been up all night crafting magic in the kitchen. There were tembleque, creamy and wobbly, with its sprinkle of cinnamon, and polvorones, crumbly cookies that melted in your mouth, and sometimes there were alfajores, delicate little sandwiches of cookies and dulce de leche dusted with powdered sugar. The whole house smelled of toasted coconut, vanilla, and an underlying note of buttery warmth. The desserts weren't just for eating, they were for savoring while we were decorating the Christmas tree. It was a family event, with my dad pulling out boxes of ornaments and lights while the soundtrack to the Nutcracker ballet filled the air. It was the one non-Spanish music tradition in our home, and I think it was my dad's quiet nod to something classical and grand. I loved hearing the familiar strains of Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy and the Waltz of the Flowers as we carefully placed glass ornaments on the branches and unraveled the tangle of colored lights. And I certainly danced around the tree like I was in the ballet with the Nutcracker. Still, no matter how beautiful the music of the Nutcracker was, my mom always made sure that we returned to our roots with Spanish Spanish Christmas music. She'd roll her eyes at the slow pace of Silent Night or the Little Drummer Boy and say, "Que deprimente." Like, Spanish Christmas music is so much more upbeat and fun. She'd tell us how when she first moved to the States from Puerto Rico, she couldn't believe how somber the American Christmas song sounded. She would say, "Where's the joy and the energy?" And she'd ask, shaking her head with a laugh. Even now, she hasn't changed her mind, and we still debate on how fun the traditional American Christmas music is versus the Spanish Christmas music. If you ask her, she'll tell you that, aguinaldos and parrandas, those lively Spanish carols, are the heart of Christmas. And she'll say that the music of Puerto Rico makes you want to dance, to celebrate, and to feel the season in your bones. And as I think back to those childhood days of decorating the tree with a plate of tembleque in hand, I realize she's kind of right. There's something about the rhythm and joy of it all that stays with you no matter how far you are from home. One of my favorite Christmas memories growing up was the ritual of making coquito with my extended family. And it wasn't Christmas until the kitchen was a bustling assembly line of coconut milk, condensed milk, evaporated milk, cinnamon, nutmeg, and of course, rum. My uncle was always a self-proclaimed coquito master, measuring and mixing with dramatic flair, while the rest of the family chimed in with unsolicited advice or playful critiques. The drink was the centerpiece of our holiday gatherings, though most of us kids were too young to taste the real version. That didn't stop us from feeling included though, because my aunt, always thoughtful, would whip up a virgin batch just for us. It was poured into little glasses and we'd sip on it, feeling fancy and grown up just like the rest of the adults. Even without the rum, it was smooth and creamy with just the right amount of spice. We'd rave about it as though we were critics at a holiday drink competition, imitating the adults who couldn't stop talking about how perfect the real coquito was. When I finally reached the age where I could have the rum-laced version, I understood the hype. That little splash of rum transformed the drink into something even more special, sweet and spicy, with the warmth that spread through your chest. Perfect for sipping on a chilly holiday evening. It was a drink that tasted like home and celebration, like the essence of Christmas in a glass. Coquito always reminded me of its American cousin, eggnog. The two drinks are close, like distant relatives with their own unique flair. But coquito will always be my favorite. It's more than a drink. It's a memory, a tradition, and a connection to my culture. Today, as I bake eggnog macarons, the scent of nutmeg and cinnamon in the air brings me right back to those childhood Christmases. I can almost hear my uncle's boisterous laughter and feel my aunt carefully pouring out the virgin coquito for us kids. The flavors of eggnog in my macarons remind me of the coquito we shared during those joyful gatherings, and it feels like I'm carrying a little piece of that tradition forward in my own little way. Christmas always reminds me of my grandmother's ice cream truck. It was her pride and joy, a business she ran with love and creativity, even when the summer heat gave way to the chill of winter. During the holidays, she would bring out her favorite flavor, coco piña, a creamy tropical mix of coconut and pineapple that tasted like sunshine in a cone. While most people might not think of ice cream during the cold months, for us grandkids, it was a highlight of the season. Grandma's coco piña ice cream wasn't just any dessert, it was homemade, whipped up with care in the very truck she drove all summer long. Even though it was freezing outside, we didn't care. We'd bundle up in our thickest coats and wait eagerly as she handed out scoops from her special holiday batch, our breath visible in the cold air as we giggled and licked our cones. It was as if the taste of that ice cream warmed us from the inside out. The ice cream truck was a magical place for us kids, especially in the summer. We'd sneak out after dark, slipping into the back of the truck and stealing a cone or two. It felt like such a daring act, but we could never keep our guilt hidden for long. We always confessed to our parents, who would laugh and quietly slip a few dollar bills into Grandma's envelope to make sure she was paid back. Looking back, I realized it wasn't quite stealing, but it still felt like mischief at the time. As an adult, I know that Grandma was onto us the whole time, and she must have noticed the missing ice cream and our not so stealthy late night adventures. Instead of scolding us, she found a way to keep our curiosity satisfied, and during the holidays, she'd prepare a special batch of coco piña just for us, a kind of unspoken truce that kept us out of the truck and in her good graces. My grandfather got into the fun also as well. He'd make ice cube versions of my grandma's recipe, freezing the creamy mix into little molds with popsicle sticks sticking out. These treats were simpler than the ice cream, but just as delightful, and they became another holiday tradition that we looked forward to year after year. Now, whenever I think of the holidays, I think of those days, the ice cream truck humming with life even in the cold, the joy of sharing those sweet treats, and the love of my grandparents poured into every scoop and stick. It wasn't just about the ice cream, it was about the warmth of family and the magic they created for us no matter the season. So, as I was baking these macarons and preparing these fillings, it just made me feel so good inside to not only just bake these for my friend, but to know that all of those memories that I have, the smells, and all of those things that triggered my memories were also included in this batch of macarons. It's like putting love into something for somebody else. Thank you so much for baking with me today and letting me share some of my favorite Spanish holiday memories. These macarons are not just a sweet treat, they're a little taste of tradition, love, and all the festive joy that this season brings. From the lively sounds of Spanish Christmas music to the rich flavors of coquito and coco piña ice cream, the holidays are all about connecting with the things that warm our hearts. Now, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and to leave a comment about your favorite holiday traditions. I'd love to hear about them. And here's your festive mission. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because I'll be sharing a YouTube short soon showing how these macarons were displayed for the holiday table. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. It's like the star on the top of a Christmas tree. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, happy baking and felices fiestas. Now, go spread some holiday cheer and maybe save a macaron or two for Santa. See you soon.